All right, what is up, Bachelor Bromios? What do you think about that one?
That was not good.
Worse than all the others? All right, what's up, Bachelor Squad? The Ryan and Jacob Show is back with another episode of the BachPod where we are not sponsored by Gold Peak Tea yet. And if they don't hit me up this week, we're switching to a new tea brand next week. Pure Leaf obviously is out the window. Gold Peak might be the next one. There's going to be a tea company that's going to sponsor us one day when we're rich and famous, but whatever. So let's get into episode 8 here. We got the hometowns, the highly anticipated hometowns. 4 girls left. What'd you think of the episode as an overall before we get into the individual parts?
Yeah, this isn't the most exciting portion of the show for me. I kind of like more so when there's a lot more girls and a lot more drama. This is kind of more.
It was an absolute snooze fest.
It was. I mean, I watched it. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't like into it as much as I was like taking notes in the earlier episodes. But everything kind of just happened, and you kind of knew that was going to happen to an extent. So it was pretty boring, but there's a lot to unpack, a lot to talk about at least. And I think it was a good episode, or I don't know, it wasn't that good.
It was an absolute snooze fest, but it was an episode nonetheless. We'll touch on all 4 of these hometowns, and before we get into that, I do have a question. In your eyes, who's the hometown dates worse for? Is it worse for Matt, or is it worse for the girls? Like, who do you think has the most stress and pressure on them going into something like this, or is it even?
I think it's got to be Matt. At least this part of the show. This is probably the only, I guess. I mean, he's pressured a lot in the show, but just meeting somebody's family for the first time, especially meeting someone's family, saying that you're going to propose to maybe their daughter when you've only known them for 6 weeks and you have 3 other girlfriends. So, I mean, that in itself is just not how life works. And I'm sure dads are skeptical, like you've seen, even moms are skeptical, as you see in this episode. So it's definitely got to be Matt, because this is the first time he's got to like actually talk to someone else other than the girls. And I think he struggled on some of them.
Yeah, I completely agree that it's way harder on Matt. I think it's a tough situation for the girls to come into, but like the exact point that you made about Matt, like every dad or even mom is gonna be has to bring up the fact or throw in a slight jab about the fact that like he's dating, like at least 3 other girls at this point. So I mean, why should I be so gung-ho about you with my daughter? Because like by next week she could be gone.
Right.
So yeah, I totally agree. I think it's tougher on Matt there, but
they didn't go to like hometowns. Like this all happened within the bubble, right?
Yeah, exactly. The parents came there, and he just went to like different locations in the on the Bachelor grounds. But we can get into our first hometown, which is Michelle, where it opens up. They go on a nice little bike ride. I guess that's something they do in Minnesota, which shocks me because it's always like fucking 12 degrees there. Like, I don't know why anyone would want to ride bikes in that. But so they go on a bike ride, and then she takes him into the auditorium thing, like, and has all her students on Zoom, which was interesting. What do you think about this whole day?
Those guys they were grilling them about some of these questions. There were some awkward conversations that, she's like, are you in love with her? And then Matt would be like, oh, I don't really know what to say right now with her right there. But I think that
question today.
Right. I think this was probably the best date out of the 4. I think you saw a pretty good connection between Michelle and Matt. I think they got along, and it carried over to Matt meeting her parents. And I think she had probably the coolest parents out of all of them. I think her dad was just probably like the chillest guy. Like, he cares for his daughter, and he was just, I don't know, he just had a way of speaking that just kind of soothed me. Like, it was just weird. It was awesome. I don't know. How do you think that this date went?
No, I thought it was real good. I thought it was super interesting that she brought him into a panel of her students and they just asked questions, like there's no way those kids came up with those questions themselves.
No
Like
way.
somebody was, I mean, I don't know if those were scripted or what.
Right.
There's absolutely no way that happened. But yeah, back into the parents thing. Her dad and her mom were pretty chill. Her dad, though, to our point earlier, did express some concern about the fact
He
that
did,
he
yeah.
was dating some other girls. But in the end, we got the stamp of approval, supportive fam, and I think all in all, Michelle's date goes pretty well, which bodes well for my very, I think at this point, fantastic prediction of Michelle and Rachel being the final two. I think I'm really looking pretty good with that right now.
Yeah, this date definitely solidified that she's going to get a rose going to the third, like the next step. I think her date, like I said, just kind of went the smoothest. I think her family really liked him, and he liked the family, and the kids. I don't know, like when they were in that auditorium, like you saw Michelle light up, like you knew she's really passionate about what she does, and that made Matt happy.
Right.
Just seeing that, and that's what he even said to her, like I think maybe her dad or maybe one of the kids said, like, how does Michelle make you a better person or something like that? And he just said that, just looking at how she dealt with those kids and how happy that makes her. I mean, that really probably helped her cause, and I think that relationship is really pretty rock solid.
Yeah. Well, and then we get to the end, and this will be a common theme, but Michelle decides that she's going to express her true feelings because everyone feels like at this point they must express these feelings. I feel like it's almost to like the point where they get to this week in it, like it's hometowns. Like I haven't said like the love word yet, so I gotta say it now.
Yeah.
We're in hometowns, of course I gotta say it. But so Michelle drops the falling in love with you. Matt does not reciprocate. He goes in for a little smooch to ease the tension. Pretty good move, I guess. But even with that, I do think that Michelle had probably, like you said, one of the better dates of this episode. Yeah. So, do you have any final thoughts on that before we move into the next?
No, like I said, I think Michelle gets the rose. I think she goes for probably the final two.
You're hopping on my train now of Michelle and Rachel being the final two, because let's remind our two viewers here that last week you did say that you thought it was going to be Bree and Rachel at the end.
I did.
So now you're you're switching to my team here.
I'm definitely going for Rachel to go. I mean, she does go to the next episode, but I think when we talk about Bree's day, you could tell Bree didn't have a great day. We could just get to Bree right now just because we're talking about her.
Yeah,
I know that wasn't the next day.
Yeah, we'll skip over Rachel.
I mean, what Bree and Matt did was they went back to the roots of their first date and went mudding in a Jeep, and Bree, drove around and they had a picnic. I know you probably hate that day.
Let me please say, because I've said this before. I'm going to interrupt you here because I've said this before, and I very much will die on this hill. Mudding is probably the worst activity that you could spend any amount of time in your life doing. What in the world is the point of driving your car through mud and shit just for fun? For fun? Yeah. I mean, I like to have fun. I'm a fun guy. But that's not fun. Because then you get done, you got to go clean your car and maybe yourself. Like, I mean, I could rant about this all day, and I feel like I've talked about this before, but this is the worst idea for an activity for anyone to ever spend time doing. I just don't get it. Mudding, what are you doing? All right.
So I'll stop you there before your head blows off. So they do go mudding. They do a picnic, and I don't know, and then they go to the parents. Bree's mom is just kind of drilling them, and we do see a baby in the picture, which I think is her baby sister.
Baby appearance, yeah.
Yeah, there's a baby appearance. That was kind of a little squirmish, I think, on that one. But her mom was drilling them, and of course, I know I'm kind of skipping without asking you, but of course, she has to say the love word here, and then Matt. So she says, "I think I'm falling in love with you," and then Matt with Michelle kissed Michelle to ease that tension.
Yep.
And what Matt did with Bree, he was like, Thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Yes. Savage, bro. He's an absolute savage. Hey, you know
I
what,
mean,
though? If you don't fucking mean it, don't say it. So I appreciate what he's doing out here for men in that position.
yeah, and he just seemed like an awkward, like that whole conversation just seemed awkward to him. And the way he was like, and Cassidy brought this up, the way he was like moving his lips and just kind of like when she was like professing her love to him, he was kind of doing the same thing with the people that he sent home with, like Abigail, when they were saying things like that. You know, he would like smack his, like just kind of lick his lips and just kind of just feel like you kind of could tell that something was not right. And I honestly think Bree would have been sent home in this episode if Serena's date went well or just went average, because Serena, you know, left on her own. And I think Bree, it would have been the one to go home. I don't know if you feel any different about that.
Yeah, I mean, no, I definitely think that it was probably one of the weaker dates out of the four. I mean, there was kind of two that shined and two that didn't.
Right.
But yeah, but also I thought it was kind of weird because her mom was, like you said, grilling him, but he was answering all the questions as if he still had long-term intentions. But then, yeah, he gets into the end of it with just him and Bree, and then it's like, well, now he doesn't seem like he's really down for this at all. Like, what exactly is going on here? I'm not exactly sure how he feels, because in that, he's in the conversation with her mom, maybe he's just trying not to like be a dick, which I get that too. But if you're feeling that way at this point, you just gotta kind of say it, right? I mean, could he have gone to that last rose ceremony and just picked two of them right there?
I mean, I do have a question for you at the end, because, and maybe I'll just ask it now, because we all know Serena, you know, leaves and she sends herself home because she doesn't think Matt's the person for her. And I was thinking, I honestly think Bree would have been sent home. I think he was ready to give Serena a rose. So do you think he only keeps Bree so he could have like 3 fantasy suites instead of just like 2, if he would have sent 2 of them home? Like, that is such a bad thing to think about, but like that's the first thing that came to my mind, because I thought Bree was going home. So why not just have 2? But I think he just wanted a 3rd. I mean, that's what I think. What's your thoughts on that?
I definitely would not throw that possibility out the window.
That's just where I first thought.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't say that that's completely out of the realm of possibility, because I mean, you know, like
I know.
I mean, you know,
our viewers know.
Yeah, like our 2 viewers understand what we're saying here. You know, Bree's a good-looking gal. Okay.
Probably the best looking one out of the remaining 4. I think probably the best looking one out of the remaining 4.
She may be. And yeah, I mean, does he have fantasy suites in the back of his mind? It's like, well, I could spend that time with 2 of them, or I could do that with 3 of them. You know?
And that's pretty bad to say.
It's bad to say, but you know what?
Yeah.
This is life, and that's how it is sometimes. But I don't know if that's truly why he kept her around. But it's definitely, like I said, not out of the realm of possibility. I do think that Bree had a pretty weak experience in this hometown thing. Her and Serena both. But Serena, like you said, sends herself home. Bree gets the 3rd out of the 3 roses, which she also expressed some dismay towards that at the end, which I actually wrote that down before she said that. I was like, how would you feel getting that 3rd rose? Like, there's only 3 people left and you just got the last one.
Right.
Like, you're going to be a little bit like, that's a shot to the ego.
Right.
But to circle back to one of the better dates, let's talk about Rachel's real quick. As we've mentioned throughout this already, you got Rachel picked as your winner prediction.
What'd you
think about her hometown?
I think, I mean, it was a good date. They went skydiving, and she busted her ass on the landing, which I think that really helped her out though, because Matt, I don't know, he could not stop talking about how he was worried about this was like the last moments, and like to put that in perspective on, oh, we're just starting this journey. Like everything he said after the fact that she fell the way she fell made it seem like, yeah, this girl's going to win, because he was just simping all over her after that fall. And and that's just another trigger. Like Rachel, yeah, I mean, that just verifies, yeah, I do think Rachel 100% wins this.
Yeah. I mean, the fall looked like it hurt a little bit, but all in all, I mean, it wasn't like she was on her deathbed.
No, right.
Which is kind of what it made it seem like, right?
Yeah, and I don't really know how she fell, because like I don't know if like they just got trapped in like a wind tunnel, but like I was trying to like look at like different like angles and videos that they had, and I just can't understand how they fell as hard as they did. I don't know.
You're saying it was staged? That's what you're telling me right now?
I wouldn't put it past it, but I mean, how often? Like you're with two professional skydivers. Like, what's the chances of that happening on a live television show?
I was kind of thinking that same thing. I was like, if they're going skydiving on live, or not on live, but like on a TV show like this,
right?
There's no way that they don't have probably two of the best motherfucking skydive guys up there, no doubt. Because if someone bit the dust on this show, it would never air again. Like they would have to have the most experienced people up there. And
and that's what I thought.
I maybe understand where you're coming from, but I'm not sure that was a staged event either.
I don't know. It was because I don't know. Matt had a pretty smooth landing, and like the way they had the parachute go down with the guy and Rachel, like it was a smooth sail. Like there wasn't like a flap in the parachute like stuck or something, but that they were going down at a higher velocity. It was just, I don't know. I think it might have been a little staged.
You heard it here first from Jacob. He thinks it's all a scam.
It could be, but I mean, going towards like I said, his voice and his words of affirmation to Rachel after that just made it seem like that was his pick. And then they go to the families, and she has a sister, mom, and dad. I mean, the families. I know his dad. The dad was grilling him probably the most out of any dad.
Oh yeah,
on how
super skeptical.
Right, he was very skeptical. He was very questioning. You know, you don't know her, or like not you don't know her, but this is too quick. But at the end, he gives the stamp of approval. I don't know if there's anything else in those conversations that you want to go for on that.
No, I was just gonna point out that. Yeah, the dad was super skeptical. I also noticed that this dude was fucking sipping, bro. Like when they first showed up, her dad was like sipping on a beer or whatever. And then he goes and talks to Matt, and next thing you know, he's like sipping a cocktail. Like this guy was absolutely getting after it. And then, you know what? If I was a dad in this situation, I'd probably be doing the same shit.
Right, free alcohol too. So.
Dude, I'd be like, open bar? I got to talk to this fucking dude that I absolutely do not approve of. I better have a few drinks, okay?
I think the rule, I don't know. I think I read this on a website on like 50 rules that contestants have to go by. I think there's only a 1 drink per hour limit. I don't know if that goes with the parents too.
Yeah, that's the thing. Does it apply to the parents who are coming here for one night? Probably not. They probably let that motherfucker drink as much as he wanted, and he was cashing in.
I would do the same. I'm not gonna lie.
Definitely doing the same. Like, oh my God, my daughter is dating this guy who's also dating like all these other girls. Like, give me every drink you guys have. Just, I want on deck. If you see my glass,
kamikaze.
Bring me another one, dude. But I thought that was funny. But like you said, dad was grilling him, but in the end, we get the official stamp of approval from the family. We're going to be supportive there too. So we'll move from that into our last date we haven't talked about yet, which is the Sydney date. We already taled about Sydney. Serena. God damn it. We almost shit. Almost made it. Almost made it. I think we made it last episode without a name fuck up, and here I go.
Dude, the Sydney Serena thing been
This-
our kryptonite this season.
we had 2 Serenas and 2 Sydney, or 1 Sydney, didn't we?
Just one Sydney. I don't think she made it past the first episode.
The Sydney name lives on. Even this is
does.
a hometown episode of the BachPod. Okay, so the Serena home date,
There you go.
which we've already touched on. Serena sends herself home at the end, but we can just really briefly touch on this because there wasn't a whole lot. They do like a Canadian thing, and honestly, like just throughout the whole day, it kind of seemed like they were vibing pretty well.
Really good.
Good conversation with the parents. But yeah, I mean, I think Sydney.
I'll take it from here.
Okay.
I think the thing about this date, I think the thing that really flipped the switch for Serena was that conversation with her sister. So her sister, like grilling her with questions like, is he the one? You know, do you see him? Like, do you see yourself with him? I don't want you to make this big mistake. And then she goes and talks to her mom, and she's grilling her with these tough questions. And then she kind of just starts breaking down and just saying, like, you could just telling her like she's just not sure anymore. And I think we don't really get a history of the background of her last relationship, but I think that last relationship really fucked her up. Because she
said that. It's like verbatim.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I think it actually.
We know that happened.
It's 100% fact. I fact checked it myself.
Yeah, so, but you said that you said I think that fucked her
I didn't
up.
say that.
Well, we know for absolute sure that it did because she said exactly that on the episode.
But then they go like to the Serena and Matt after the date. And I think she was really hurt. I don't know. I don't think hurt is the right. Maybe you could give me a better word. I'm going to say she was really appalled by the way he was so calm. And like she was visibly like hurting. Like not hurt. Maybe hurting is not a good word, but she was visibly upset. And Matt really didn't do anything. And I think that really kind of took her back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could just tell kind of at the end of that day that she just.
Beat up.
I mean, it was pretty much over at that point because you could just tell that she knew then that there's too much doubt to even explore it further.
Right.
And I mean, once you have all those thoughts in your mind, it's like, yeah, you can't really get over that at that point. And you know, it was probably because of her last relationship. I think that it might have fucked her up. So. So after the day with her parents, Matt also feels that something was off there. So we see him at the end go back to Serena and like, we got to talk. And that's where she lays it out. And she's like, I just don't think you're my person. And long story short, we see Matt and Serena come to an end. So
yeah, and I don't know, because during the montage, like all the girls were like ready, like they were, you know, showing in music that the girls getting ready. I don't know if like, because I remember right when Matt came in, Serena was like, well, I wasn't expecting you, but like all the girls were already dressed up. So like, I think she was expecting him. That was just something that I noticed during that whole thing. But yeah, she says that she's not you're not my person, and then kind of sends herself home. But the interesting part is we get the preview to the women's tell-all, and Chris Harrison asks probably the most interesting question out of all that. The whole preview is that, did you make a mistake? And you can kind of see her thinking about it. So I'm going to be interested to see that answer. I think Matt and Serena probably definitely had the most time. Remember, she got 2 one-on-one dates.
Yep.
So she definitely had the most time. And he even said, like, I chose you for 2 one-on-one dates for a reason. Like, there was something that Matt really, really liked about Serena, and Serena threw that. You know, she threw the relationship away, not so much Matt. And I think Serena would have been a very, very viable winner on how much time they spent and just how much they vibed in those categories.
Yeah, no, I think like during their during the initial part of their date, I was thinking, oh man, like this girl's got a good chance to make a run.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end, it kind of fell apart. I mean, you saw the conversations with their family, like you said, like once they started bringing up the past relationship and just the overall questions about what she thought of the future, it just kind of all seemed to crumble there. Just lacked some of that foundation. But, and I think we talked about this earlier, we kind of saw a little bit of the disconnect between Serena and Matt.
Serena.
Yeah.
Yeah, Serena P to be exact.
Sydney written down on my notes, and that's why I screwed up the name. So we saw that date a couple episodes ago, 1 or 2 episodes ago, on one of their one-on-ones where they did that yoga, that tantric yoga. That's kind of where we saw their relationship look a little bit shaky. I mean, they just didn't have that deeper connection that you're going to need to marry somebody. And I think that kind of carries over into this hometown episode. And this is where you kind of got to start thinking, oh man, like this guy's, it's either proposal or bust from this point. If I don't think I can marry this dude, I got to get out of here. And
yeah, I give her props because like she even said, like, if he got down on one knee, I don't think I would have said yeah. Like, she would have been so lost. So she knew that like these other 3 girls would think that they would say yes or like wanted to say yes, but she wasn't 100%. So I give Serena credit that, you know, she realized that she's not, you know, ready for this, and, you know, this all moved too fast. But I mean, to end the podcast, I think I'm still gonna go with my Bree and Rachel final 2.
Oh, you're already locked
prediction.
In on that. You're definitely staying with it.
And I think 100% Rachel. Like, there's no doubt. Like, I would put a lot of money on that Rachel wins. Well, I do think Michelle probably. She made a good run at number 2, maybe even the winner. But you can't get me off of Rachel.
No, and like I said last episode, I didn't necessarily like pick a winner, but I did lay out a couple things, and I do think Michelle and Rachel are going to be the final 2. And I'm saying it here right now because I think you could be right on the fact that in Matt's head, Rachel is possibly going to win. But I think we're going to get to that last proposal episode. And my prediction is that nobody wins this thing. I think maybe Matt goes into that day thinking that Rachel wins, or that day before. He finds out some of the information that's been circulating around, and or finds out at some point. But I think nobody's going to win this thing.
Right, but I don't know if you read or you've been following Matt's Instagram or Twitter or whatever the heck he posted it.
I'm not trying to spoil shit, dude.
Well, he doesn't spoil anything if you read his tweets. He just kind of live tweets stuff. But I don't follow him either. But when I was looking at this Chris Harrison stuff and, you know, all this racism stuff, Matt in his, like, he didn't, not an apology, but in his post says that he's learning about this stuff in real time. So that makes me think he had no idea. Even the producers probably didn't even know at the time of the proposal or the time of the last episode that this stuff came out and this stuff was actually going to happen. So I think I know for a fact Matt didn't know at the last episode. I don't know if that changes your thought, but I think Rachel wins and they break up. So and then he dates Heather. That's bold prediction though.
I don't know, man. We just had so many girls leave on their own. Like, you know what? I'm gonna stick with my prediction.
All right.
I'm gonna say nobody wins. I think he gets to the end and just isn't. I just don't know if there's anyone. I mean, maybe Rachel, but like, I just don't know if anyone has that like proposal type connection, that marriage type connection.
I think Rachel. I don't know if he proposes. Like, I think he says, "Hey, Rachel, you're a winner, but I'm not ready to propose." And I think she accepts that, but then this stuff comes out, and then all hell breaks loose. So I don't know. He's been talking about proposal so much, like it's kind of hard to believe him not trying to at least propose. But
I don't know.
This could go either. I don't know.
It's a shaky ending. I'm stamping my call at the no winner. Regardless, I think maybe somehow he finds out something, but I think nobody wins. I still think Michelle, and it comes down to Michelle and Rachel final 2. I'm stand by that. And we'll see what happens. I think next week's episode is going to be super juicy. I can't wait to have Victoria back on the camera and just see how that all goes. So next week's BachPod episode should be juicier than a Starburst. But yeah, this one was kind of a snooze fest, and we can certainly wrap this up. If you got any closing thoughts, let's hear them.
I say Rachel. I'll stamp my approval on Rachel wins and a breakup, easily breakup before
Quick breakup.
The quick break. Yeah, this is gonna be a quick break. It's gonna be kind of like the Hannah and Jed thing, and it's
all right.
It's gonna be no relationship.
You heard it here first. Jacob says Rachel wins, but break up soon. I say Michelle and Rachel get down to the final 2, and we have no winner. So we'll see how things shake out. But that'll close out this episode, and we will catch you guys next week for a recap of the juicy tell-all episode. That one should be wild.